Alright, so let's be real. People have been getting fucked up for thousands of years. People drink, smoke, pills, coffee. Why? As soon as this stuff was discovered, people were all over it. Now don't get me wrong, I'm talking about the natural stuff here. Stuff that existed even before we did. Not the stuff that we cooked up in labs in order to get people hooked. Scientists have been speculating that man has been using mind-altering substances for over 5,000 years now. This isn't something new. Native Americans, when they first discovered tobacco, used it in huge doses in order to hallucinate and communicate with a higher being. It was reserved only for the elite, only for those who were deemed worthy. They used it in a religious way. You don't see people doing that nowadays. There are no priests out there tripping on mushrooms trying to get closer to God. Think of it this way, if you subscribe to the theory that God made everything around us, God made us, He put us here, everything around us is His creation, then why would He put these plants that cause us to see things in a different light, cause us to see things differently, to expand our mind? Maybe they were put there on purpose. Maybe their main function is to communicate with something higher than ourselves. Terence McKenna is the father of the stoned ape theory. He believes that we are what we are today because thousands of years ago, apes ate mushrooms and developed language and consciousness. And science is yet to explain that leap between ape and man, how we became the conscious feeling beings we are today. According to a 2015 study, psilocybin, which is the main ingredient in mushrooms, has been observed to actually physically rebuild cells within the brain. A group of mice were exposed to an auditory tone paired with an electric shock to condition them to fear the noise even when no shock was administered. The mice that were given psilocybin learned to stop fearing the noise a lot quicker than the mice who were not. From these findings and others like it, scientists have speculated that this could in fact be a cure for anxiety, depression, and even help with brain damage. Guess what? Psilocybin is 100% illegal. Why? Fuck you, that's why. It's almost impossible to run clinical trials on humans because of the government. But spiking an entire town's water supply with LSD is an experiment. That's okay. But let's get back on track. Why do people feel the need to go on these trips? Why do we want to experience things in a different light? Why do we want to take these substances that change the way we perceive things? I mean, my eyes and senses are doing pretty well. I quite like them actually. They do the job. I think people just want to see things differently. I think it's fun, but it's also eye-opening. I think we all need a release, and not being open to other possibilities, not trying to see things a different way, that could be harmful to a person, or at least limiting. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not saying that you should go out and get super high and eat Doritos and talk about how the space aliens are coming to Earth. Wait. But I'm also not saying you shouldn't. I think fucking up the way we experience things every now and again is a core part of the human experience. I mean, there are cannabinoid receptors in our brain. We literally have receptors for weed. What marijuana actually does to your brain is it causes receptors to function better than they used to, which is why you perceive things differently and get super high. And of course there's such thing as too much of a good thing. If we can change the way we see the world, expand our field of thinking without causing any harm to ourselves, without causing any long-term damage, then maybe we're supposed to. Has anybody thought of that? Maybe drugs are expansion packs for our brains. Yeah, I said it. I went there. It's such a crazy idea to people, but these are things that grow in the ground. These are naturally produced products that have an effect on our brain, and it's at least worth considering. Now let me jump in real quick here, because since I filmed this video, the first ever brain imaging study has been carried out on patients who were given LSD in Imperial College London here in England. And surprise, surprise, the consensus is that it offers quite the insight into human consciousness. Robin Carhart Harris, and I hope I'm saying his name right, of Imperial College London, who led the study, said that psychedelics offer an insight into the human consciousness because they alter it in a fundamental way, completely dissolving the ego and causing people to feel detached from themselves. And this is something I encounter in creative projects. I do a lot of writing and I direct as much as I can, and I'm working on something at the moment, and I had a meeting with other people, we talked about it, and the project is better for it. The story is better because I talked to other people who had an insight outside of me, of myself. They saw it from an outside perspective and picked at it and said this could be better and this could work better. Something that I can't do because I'm not on the outside, I'm on the inside. Seems like that would work the same way with a human being. If you could see yourself from the outside, if you could somehow detach yourself, if you could get rid of the ego and just look at yourself in a completely subjective way, that's me. Oh God, what am I doing? Stop it now. I feel like we'd all be better people for it. The study showed that the brain worked in a more unified way, meaning that parts of the brain that usually worked independently worked together, causing the human brain to work in a more simple way, sort of like the way an infant's brain works. Now, I'm not a scientist, and I certainly haven't taken LSD before, but it seems to me that this is... It's like going back to basics. It's like retracing your steps and just saying, hey, where the hell did I go wrong? But this is the point of view of somebody who definitely does not have a degree in neuroscience and hasn't even used the drug before. So, back to you, me. I'm gonna end up in a fucking cringe compilation. There's a study that I'm gonna have to go find a link in the description like all the other stuff I was talking about today, but there's a study that indicates that people with higher IQs generally will be more likely to experiment with drugs. Smarter people, and I know the IQ test isn't the best way of showing intelligence, but generally, smarter people will be more curious and want to experiment more with things like marijuana. There are dangers while using drugs, of course. It sounds silly even just saying it because it's so obvious. But in my mind, the biggest danger of all is the fact that they're illegal. It's the fact that people have to get them through illegal means, because whether they're legal or illegal, people are going to get them. So people have to acquire these substances through illegal means, and the people selling the illegal substances will do anything to gain a profit. They're shady people. They mix them with other shit. They process them in a way which is dangerous and harmful. Not even mentioning all of the killings and violence that surrounds the illegal drug trade. Then there's the problem of misinformation. People don't know what they're getting, they don't know what's in it, they don't know where it's from, and they don't necessarily know how to use it, which leads to overdoses, which leads to negative repercussions, which the government then uses as examples, to why these substances should be illegal in the first place. And it's ridiculous. It is the most ridiculous problem that our society has today. And from where I'm sitting, I don't think anybody's really doing anything about it. But of course, there are bigger problems today. This is far from being number one on the list. But it is a problem, and I really do believe that the war on drugs is doing a lot more harm than it is doing good. Tobacco kills over 6 million people worldwide every single year. It can kill up to half of its users. Did we make that illegal? Seems a lot more dangerous than a bit of weed. Now we just kept making money off of it. But what we did do eventually was educate people. We told people about the risks, and we printed dead people on the boxes, And smoking has decreased ever since, especially with the rise of electronic cigarettes, but that's a whole nother cat in a whole other bag. Whether psychedelics played a huge role in human evolution, or if they were simply used as an escape, I think that if you look down on people who use these substances, you're not considering other possibilities. I think you're limiting yourself. All I'm saying is a bit of consideration. You don't have to be a user yourself. You don't have to understand it fully. Just be considerate. Chill down. Chill down? That's not a thing. The taboo regarding all these substances is slowly being lifted, but I think we're unfortunately far from them being totally legal. On a final note, let me be perfectly clear. I'm not advocating a life of substance abuse, and I said the word abuse. There is a big difference between use and abuse. You can abuse anything. You can abuse the internet. You can abuse food. Life. You can abuse YouTube explained videos. Too much of me will lead to bad things. Be warned. At the end of the day, you do you. Be yourself. The human experience is whatever you want it to be. Getting fucked up is not a requirement. I just think that, hey, humans have been doing this for almost the beginning of our very existence, and there's a reason for that. That's all I'm saying. My name is Vinny, and thank you so much for watching.